Hey there, traders. We're back for another recap. This is for several days. Today is the 23rd, Wednesday, April 23. In the interest of time, instead of plotting the levels for each of those days, I'll show you the game plan. You can see the levels. If you want to go back and do it yourself, you can see what happened, but I'm going to explain the trades in the tracking log per usual. And then for today, Wednesday, I have that chart ready to go. So we can talk about where they're at now. They opened up, they gapped above this lower trend line. They opened right in the middle and tried to get to the upper trend line and then fell away. Now, I'm going to point out that this trend line here was based on this first pivot here. It was more refined on the hourly chart here, but just to give you an idea. But after seeing what they did today, kind of going back in a little closer, I'm going to split the difference, go from the all-time high to this pivot here, and then they came up close today. It's still probably going to be important, this general area, and really this whole zone. I'm going to fine-tune this for tomorrow, most likely, if they continue to go higher. But they're hitting some resistance. Obviously, they did. In fact, what happened today, for the most part, was they topped out at the 200-period moving average on the hourly chart. And the trend line I had on the board was a little higher than this today. I was ready to go short around 547.50 or so. They spiked this. Never happened. I didn't take a trade today. We'll watch the recording of that. I do have recordings of a few other days where I did take trades. But this is where they're at today. And the bulls are trying to fight all this resistance. There were some big swings recently. Thursday was mostly flat. Lost some money on Monday, if you're playing by the rules, that is. One of these days hit a max loss limit. We'll take a look at that. But still staying above water for the most part. Today was a good day. Let's look at the game plan for Thursday first. So this is April 17. All the levels, the trend line, the explanation for all this. Feel free to read through this and pause the video if you need to, so you can see what I was thinking before the market opened. I didn't really have a clear signal of which direction would be most likely. At the same time, I wasn't ready to call the market back to normal. Still isn't at this point. Still pretty volatile. So with that in mind, you have to just understand that bigger swings are likely. You have to adjust your trade management accordingly. Market was closed on Friday. This is Monday, the 21st. Same thing. Note the levels and the game plan. This was yesterday. Left out a dash here in the date. 4/22, 2025. Tuesday, a little bit of a zone at the top. Proved to be pretty important all day. If you want to go back and look at that. And here's today, Wednesday, the 23rd. Just want to point out this 540.22. I said that I was not going to trade it. I'm not including it as a tradable level. That level and the area around it came from a good retracement level. But I wanted to see if the bulls could stay above it. And if they could stay above it for a while, really you need several hour closes, a day close or so, for them to go higher. But if they got below it, then that wasn't too good for the bulls. They did end up falling down into this level during the open session, and knowing that it really was more of a reference instead of a tradable level comes into play, because it was really there just to see what price would do with it. Didn't want to trade it. Really was more of one of these gut feelings, because typically that retracement level is important. But I explained most of that here in this little paragraph. So with that said, here is today. Here's the price action. And we had some pretty big spikes early in the morning. They jumped up from here's the 540.22. They jumped up to the next level within seconds and bounced back and forth. And I thought when the 9:45 PMI data was going to come out, or sometime after that, if they were to continue to push higher, I was ready to go short here. And I was ready to sell 4 contracts. And I thought I could pull at least 20 points if they fell down to this next level or below. But they never got up there. And that trend line, as I pointed out earlier, would have been a little lower. But with what I see now, I'm going to adjust this trend line for later. We'll see where it plots on the chart for the future, because that area is probably still going to be a place that the bulls need to fight to get above. But meanwhile, after 9:45, they were right here. They'd already hit this 544.06 level, but they did it again, pulled back. That's base hit number 1. And while they did mess with this level, I'm only going to take that trade one time, at least on the short side. And so here's what I'm talking about, 540.22. So I'm just going to hover here. Notice that they bottomed out here, bottomed out, all in this general area. Call it 540.75 or so, this general area. And then they came down, pulled up a couple times before they got to this level. These are some clues that this is probably going to be something that won't provide the right kind of support. Plus, we want to see what price would do once they got underneath it. That's why I said this was not a tradable level. We're not counting this because you should have just sat back and watched after getting these clues. This is a no trade, but down to 537.37. That is a viable level. Another bounce. That's base hit number 2. They got back down. I want to point something out here. I had a level, I think it was 535.80 something, 85, 86, like right in between these two other levels, that I took out at the last minute Kind of crazy to think that, what is this, like a 30-something point move. I didn't want to level in between 30 S&P points because of how volatile the market could be. That would have been another trade, but can't count that. The level was not on the board, took it off intentionally. But down at 534.36, that was another base hit. So what is this, 3 base hits so far? They got under 537.37 at 12:07 p.m. Eastern. And they got back up to it again more than 20 minutes later. You can take this for a short trade. So there's base hit number 4. And after that, this level's been traded both sides, and you've already traded this 534.36 on the long side, and it's getting close to that line in the sand. I don't like to take trades within 30 minutes of the closing bell anyway. But you can see the levels were important all day long. And having the game plan was very important because you knew at that point this was what I call an axis point. If the bulls can stay above, which means close candles of significance, hourly candles or more, then the bulls are in charge. If they get below and close hourly candles below, then the bears are probably in charge. Pretty straightforward. Usually this comes into play in the morning. What was this? Is about 11:30 or so. That's when they gave it up, and the bears took the ball and ran with it. We've got a recording for Thursday, April 17, of a trade I took. I think it was one trade. Let's just go ahead and find it. I'll scrub ahead here until, here we go. I'm long 2 contracts at this level, and forget the details. I think I just waited for that 7.25 points or so, and I got it after a little while. And they went higher, of course. But I just took that. That was the only trade I took. I think I let this run longer. Not sure when I stopped the recording. Got back from lunch or so, close to 2 o'clock. Yeah. So that was Thursday. I have no recording for Monday because I did not trade. I even said it on Monday that I wasn't planning to trade today. Had too many things going on that day. But on Tuesday, yesterday, I took 2 trades. And the first one was when they got above this 521.18. I went on the long side. And this is more or less by the rules. So let them get above here. And I bought 2 contracts. This is slowed down just because it happens pretty fast. So it's not sped up to the full extent. So I'll let you watch this. I think I pulled 7 points on 2 contracts for the first trade. Maybe we'll scrub ahead if it takes a minute or so. It took longer than I thought. There we go. And then I took a short trade at 524.09. I believe it was 5 points. Also happened pretty quickly. There we go. And that was the only trade. I was away from my computer for a while. Didn't realize they went off the chart here until I got back around, there we go, 1:30 or so. And just let this go for, I think, the rest of the day. But no more trades for me, just the 2. Happy to get 12 points. And then today, this is Wednesday, the only order I had in the system was to go short up at 547.50. That was where this level and the trend line coincided. And I'm hovering here thinking that if they jump up pretty quickly, I mean, it'd be nice if they did this, then I was ready to buy my 4 contracts back at however many points I was going to be, probably 20 points or more, if it happened fast like they did here. But they never got that high, and I realized now what they were doing. They were bouncing off of the 100 period moving average, the 200 period moving average on the 1 hour chart, and the trend line was actually lower, should have been lower. So they just found some overhead resistance in between these 2 levels. But I let this recording go and didn't intend to let it go all day. I got back from lunch and saw what they were doing. I just thought, I want to see if they get back below the trend line again. I'm talking about this lower one here. They didn't, I don't think. Let's let this thing go till the market closed at 4 o'clock. And that's pretty much it for today. So what we're looking at is Thursday through today. That's essentially a week's worth of data, 4 trading days, because Friday last week was a holiday. So you can read through the notes. If you have any questions about what happened, feel free to shoot me an email if you want. There was a max loss limit day on Monday, and then a pretty bad fumble on Tuesday. And this is where we landed, slowly climbing up. We've been hovering around the 62 to 63, 64% rate of return because we've given some money back to the market lately. And then on my trades, here are the notes, and just took the 7.25 on Thursday, nothing on Monday. Monday. Tuesday, 12 points, and nothing today. Hopefully I can get into a little bit better schedule so I can create the videos daily as I intend to, because that provides more valuable and more relevant information based on what I think the market's going to do the next day. Then we can dissect every single level per usual. And I do believe that approach provides more value if I just keep the status quo. Thanks for tuning in again and watching the recaps for the last few days. I'll be back at it tomorrow morning, new levels. You know the game plan. And speaking of game plan, that's what's going to be sent out. And I will point out one thing. So we have tomorrow and then the 25th. And after the 25th, I will not have the game plans and the levels emailed out anymore. They're going to be behind the paywall, which is in the subscription, which you can find at ticksandtrades.com. So if you're interested in receiving, nothing's going to change. It's still going to be the levels and the game plan in the same format. They're going to be accessible via that subscription. I do appreciate those of you who are following along, and I have a few ideas of how to improve the course. I appreciate the feedback that I've gotten. So I'll be working on that in the near future. And of course, it will be available to everyone who has purchased it. Thanks again. I'll talk to you again soon. Have a great day.